You like your own driver's license? U.S. Auto School will show you how easy it is. Call now and get a free Learn to Drive booklet, and more great news, you don't even need a learner's permit to enroll. Our at-home learner's permit service does it for you in 24 hours. Find out why over 500,000 New Yorkers got their driving lessons at U.S. Auto School, the one with dual-control cars for safer, faster learning, and free door-to-door pickup. In New York, call 855-1200. That's 855-1200.
That's right. If you're a young woman between 16 and 21 years old who wants a head start on the future, you can get it with the Job Corps, learning skills and earning money, too. Women in Community Service recruits women for Job Corps. We'll tell you if you're qualified. Call us.
Yes, yes, yes. The Job Corps does it best.
The Morazan Diaries, profile of a rebellion, Aida Alvarez's journey through El Salvador, narrated by Christopher Jones, 11 p.m. Sunday on Channel 5.
Good morning. This is Chuck Caron with the latest news, sports, and weather from the Channel 5 newsroom. First, let's start it off with international news. An American U-2 reconnaissance plane reportedly will fly over eastern Sinai today to take photographs. Israeli television says the pictures will be used to verify that Egypt has withdrawn military units and installations from the area. Israel has charged that Egypt violated the Camp David Accords by putting the military units in eastern Sinai. Most senior Israeli officials have said they're confident Egypt has removed the troops. The issue was one of the snags in Israel's scheduled withdrawal from Sinai a week from today. U.S., Israeli, and Egyptian officials now say they're confident that pullout will happen as planned. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Walter Stessel is in Cairo working on problems connected with Israel's Sinai withdrawal. He'll meet with President Mubarak before returning to Israel. In Buenos Aires, a U.S. State Department spokesman says he's neither optimistic nor pessimistic about the negotiations on the Falkland Islands. Secretary of State Haig is still in the Argentine capital, with no word about when he's leaving. When he does, British government sources say Haig won't be flying directly to London from Argentina. They say he'll stop off in Washington. British diplomats in Uruguay say a group of 29 British Marines and 13 scientists will go from Uruguay to Brazil tomorrow. They arrived in Uruguay early today after Argentina deported them. The Britons were captured when Argentina seized the Falkland Islands April 2nd. No reason was given for the release. Britain's Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher unexpectedly returned to London from her country estate Saturday night to meet with advisors over the Falkland Islands crisis. British officials say her sudden return does not mean there are any new developments in Secretary of State Haig's negotiations in Buenos Aires. As many as 100 people were feared drowned after their boat sank in an irrigation canal near Cairo. Egyptian police say the accident occurred after a crowd of soccer fans hurrying to a game packed onto a small ferry boat that sank under their weight. Shortly after Reagan spoke, Soviet President Leonid Brezhnev rejected Reagan's call for an informal meeting at a June United Nations session on disarmament. Instead, Brezhnev offered a formal summit in Europe this fall. The White House says it will carefully study the offer. Turning now to the national news. A fire at a Virginia nuclear power plant caused the release of low levels of radiation into the atmosphere on Saturday. But officials say radiation released when the fire damaged a building used to store contaminated reactor equipment at the Surrey nuclear plant was not a health threat. Week-long events to increase public awareness of the impact of a nuclear war begin Sunday in 500 communities throughout the country. Activities include a 30-minute race starting Thursday in Salt Lake City's downtown Federal Plaza. Why 30 minutes? It's because people usually get a 30-minute warning in case of a nuclear attack. Sunday marks the beginning of that anti-nuclear weapons movement's Ground Zero week. On the eve of that occasion, President Reagan made a speech in which he placed himself on the side of the nuclear opponent. In his third nationally broadcast speech, Reagan said a nuclear war would have no winners. In an interview in Sunday's Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper, former President Jimmy Carter said he may take a personal role in the second phase of the Middle East peace process. That phase deals with providing limited self-rule to Palestinians in Israeli-occupied lands. 40 years ago tomorrow, or today, Sunday, Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle led 16 B-25s on the first American air raid in Japan. Though the bombing run on Tokyo did little physical damage, it took Japan completely by surprise. Until that day, few Japanese thought the war would ever touch their homeland. On the eve of that anniversary, Senator Barry Goldwater told members of Doolittle's Raiders and 500 other people gathered in Tampa, Florida, America must recapture the glory won by the Raiders. 49 of the 80 volunteers who took part in the mission are still alive. 32 of them showed up for the ceremony. Pulitzer Prize-winning poet Archibald MacLeish was reported in serious condition Saturday in a Massachusetts hospital. The 89-year-old MacLeish has been hospitalized since earlier this month with an undisclosed illness. Turning now to local news. A year after winning the largest electric rate hike in its history, Consolidated Edison asked the state's Public Service Commission yesterday for an even larger increase of $475 million, representing a 12% boost in revenue. Con Ed's senior executive vice president, John Thornton, said the decision to seek the rate increase was reached reluctantly and after painstaking scrutiny of what our costs will be. A gunman who said he had killed 3 people robbed a priest and 2 women in a Lower East Side rectory minutes after the clergyman gave his last $11 to a man whose car had broken down. The gunman ransacked the rectory and took $300 from the pockets of the priest's sister and niece, who were visiting from Italy. Let's take a look at what's happening in sports. First, from the ballpark, we'll take the American League first. Detroit Tigers defeated the New York Yankees 5-3. In the other American League games, California 6, Minnesota 2, Oakland 10, Seattle 3, Kansas City 12, Cleveland 10, Boston 5, Toronto 4, Texas 5, Milwaukee 3, and Chicago White Sox took 2 from Baltimore today. In the first game, 3-1, and the second game, 10-6. In the National League, well, the New York Mets defeated Montreal 2-1. In the other games, Atlanta 2, Houston 1, San Diego 4, Los Angeles 3, St. Louis 6, Philadelphia nothing, Chicago Cubs 10, Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati 8, San Francisco 2. In professional basketball in the NBA, New Jersey defeated Detroit 147-132. As you know, New Jersey are in the NBA playoffs. The New York Knicks play tomorrow in Boston. Taking a look at the weather forecast for the metropolitan area. Showers and thunderstorms tonight, windy and mild with a low 48 to 50. Southerly winds 15 to 25 miles per hour and gusty, damaging winds possible in a thunderstorm. Sunday, partly sunny, breezy, and cooler with a high around 60 degrees. Northwest winds at 15 to 25 miles per hour and gusty. Sunday night, clear and cool with a low in the 40s. Westerly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Let's take a look at what's happening on Monday. Partly sunny and mild, the high in the mid-60s with southwest winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. That's the latest news, sports, and weather from the Channel 5 newsroom. Chuck Caron reporting.
And now for your listening pleasure, tune in the Milkman's Matinee on WNEW Radio 1130 on your radio dial.
The Morazan Diaries, Profile of a Rebellion, Aida Alvarez's Journey Through El Salvador, narrated by Christopher Jones, 11 p.m. Sunday on Channel 5.
The best known, most beloved, and most widely quoted prayer in the world is the Lord's Prayer. The disciples of Jesus came to him one day and asked, "Lord, teach us to pray." The result was the Our Father, which is said often by the faithful Christian at home and in church. It is the most beloved of prayers because Christ was its author. It is the most perfect of prayers, yet Jesus gave it to us not only that we might often repeat its petitions word for word, but that it be also a pattern prayer or a guide in fashioning our own prayers. We are to pray in our own words too. We are to speak to God as a child speaks to a loving father. There is no magic in the Lord's Prayer. The man who complained that there was no use praying because he had prayed the Lord's Prayer 20 times and nothing happened simply missed the whole point of prayer. He was of the very sort of whom Christ warned, those who repeat pious phrases endlessly in the hope that repetition will work a miracle. The Our Father is full of meaning. We should pray it carefully and slowly. One saint of the church is said to have taken an hour in praying the whole prayer once. After beginning Our Father, he would stop and meditate for minutes on the meaning of that phrase. God is Father. Just as a true and good father loves his child and protects him and would do anything in the world for him, sacrifice for him, yea, even give his life for him if need be, in such fashion God is Father to us. That saint would continue in this way with all the parts of the prayer. Notice the dangers that lie within that prayer for the person who prays it carelessly and thoughtlessly. Suppose for an instant that God would suddenly respond to our appeal, "Thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." What would happen to our present state of affairs? Would we keep the same plans we have made, associate with the same people, and spend our money for the same purposes we had planned? To pray, "Thy will be done," means to stand ready to do the will of God as soon as we know what his will for us is. Do we seek his will in all things? Are we ready to put those words into practical, everyday use? There's another dangerous plea. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Here we ask God to forgive as we forgive. How many of us would really dare to ask for forgiveness on such conditions? We say of someone who has harmed us, "I can never forgive him for that," or "I will forgive him but will never forget the way he treated me." How many of us want God to treat us according to that pattern? But that is exactly what we pray in this prayer. And lead us not into temptation. There is hypocrisy in asking God to deliver us from temptation when we continue to run into it deliberately and of our own free will. We go to entertainment we know will suggest evil to our mind. We go to a place we know will result in drunkenness. We read books we know will do us no good. How can we ask the Lord not to lead us into temptation when we do so ourselves? Is this not a plea to help us weigh our acts and decisions in the light of our faith? As we say this beautiful prayer, my friends, whether it is in the privacy of our homes, at bedside, table, or in church, may we pray it as Jesus did, and in the sense that he gave it to us to be prayed. May God bless you.
This is television station WNEW TV, owned and operated by Metromedia Television, division of Metromedia, transmitting from the World Trade Center. Executive offices and studios located at 205 East 67th Street, New York City. WNEW TV operates on an assigned frequency of 76 to 82 megahertz as authorized by the Federal Communications Commission. Programs cannot be rebroadcast or copied without written permission. Programs and portions of programs have been pre-recorded. And now this is Ed Ladd speaking on behalf of Metromedia Television, division of Metromedia Incorporated, wishing you a very pleasant good night and good morning.